Going vegan is the eco-friendly way to reduce environmental impact. Going vegan has many beneficial effects including health, economy, medicine, as well as the environment. So what is veganism? Veganism is a way of living that excludes anything derived from animals, including food, clothes, and medicines, or any other numerous associated with animals. Veganism also promotes use of animal-free alternatives to benefit animals, humans, and the environment. This report will focus primarily on the impact of veganism on the environment. So how does veganism impact the environment positively? Veganism reduces greenhouse gas emissions, and we all know that greenhouse gas emissions are responsible for global warming, even if not all of us want to admit it. So by lowering carbon emissions, global warming can be slowed down. Practicing veganism also reduces water use, water pollution, as well as land usage. Going vegan can slow down the global warming by reducing greenhouse gas emissions. CO2, methane, and nitrous oxide are three main greenhouse gases responsible for global warming. If a person traded eating meat for a vegan diet, they will reduce CO2 emissions by 1.5 tons every year. Livestock such as chickens, turkeys, pigs, and cows are collectively the largest producers of methane in the US. Compared to CO2, methane is 20 times more powerful at trapping heat in the Earth's atmosphere. In addition, 65% of worldwide nitrous oxide emissions are produced by the meat, egg, and dairy industries, and nitrous oxide is 300 times more powerful at trapping heat than CO2. So you can imagine that global warming can be greatly reduced by switching to a vegan diet. Going vegan also reduced water use and water pollution caused by animals. Nearly half of all water use in the United States goes to raising animals for food. It takes more than 2,400 gallons of water to produce 1 pound of meat, and it only takes 25 gallons to make 1 pound of wheat. You would save more water by not eating 1 pound of meat than you would by not taking a shower for 6 months. A vegan diet requires 300 gallons of water per day versus a median diet which requires 4,000 gallons per day. Animals raised for food create 89,000 pounds of excrement per second. These animals' waste does not undergo the waste treatment like human excrement does. This situation has created a massive amount of groundwater pollution. In fact, it was estimated that the excretion of chicken, pig, and cows contaminated for 35,000 miles of river in 22 states. Going vegan also conserves land use for farm animals, as well as deforestation. Raising animals for food uses 30% of the Earth's land mass, which is about the same size as Asia. More than 260 million acres of United States forest have been cleared to create cropland to grow grain to feed farmed animals. The equivalent of 7 football fields of land are bulldozed every minute to create more room for farmed animals. Raising animals for food is not an effective way to gain sustenance. Farmed animals consume a large quantity of crops produced in the US. It is reported that 70% of all grains and cereals grown in this country are fed to farmed animals. However, they only produce a small amount of meat, eggs, and dairy products in return. It requires 16 pounds of grain to produce 1 pound of meat, or 5 pounds of wild-caught fish to produce 1 pound of farmed fish. The graph shows the environmental impacts of one glass of different milks when it comes to carbon emissions, land use, and water. You can see that right there. The data clearly shows that compared to dairy milk, soy milk and oat milk produce far less carbon emissions and use far less water. Per 1 glass of milk, dairy milk produces 0.6 kilograms carbon emission compared to 0.2 kilogram carbon emissions produced by soy and oat milk. That is 3 times more emissions on just 1 glass of milk. In addition, compared to soy and oat milk, dairy uses 6 to 7 times more land water to produce the same amount of milk. These data clearly demonstrate that raising farmed animals is not an effective food source at all. So, now that I've talked about the benefits of a vegan diet, let me talk about the drawbacks of one as well. Firstly, let's go over the pros. We've already talked about how the environment is helped by going vegan, as it reduces carbon emissions, water use, and pollution and deforestation. It prevents the overuse of antibiotics and antibiotic-resistant pathogens. It improves health by potentially limiting the rates of CVD, diabetes, and cancer, although it is not the main reason you might get cancer or diabetes. Strict vegan diet may actually cause new deficiencies and insufficient protein intake. that can be fixed with pills, but is not necessarily easy. Now, that being said, this is not guaranteed either, and you can very easily get all you need from a vegan diet. It all depends on how you do it. Vegetables and fruits have very little or no protein, beans are the main source of your protein, and of course B12 can only be found in meat. But again, you can get B12 from pills. But who doesn't? So here are some examples of vegan dishes. People tend to think that a vegan diet is plain, boring, and not very tasty. This is not necessarily true. They can be tasty if you know how to prepare them. Vegan crab cake, hot vegetarian spinach artichoke dip, and garlic sesame noodles are my favorite. I don't know how you make them, but they are my favorite, so try some. And here are basically all the sources I have. Hopefully you find them sufficient.